Nisambulvena, very good afternoon to you all. In my address to the nation last week, I had said that your government and its financial situation will be a challenge that needs to be addressed with urgency, and we must continue to be prudent about how we manage public finances. I also said that we had made it very clear in our party manifestos that the implementation of certain promises will be much dependent on the true state of our financial position. The Minister of Finance and Deputy Prime Minister here on my right, with his team, are currently carrying out a review of the true status of government's financial position. We are also conducting mandatory audits and associated checks and balances. Until those are completed, we will be curtailing what we consider to be wasteful spending in areas that are not a priority. As we do this, there are commitments that your coalition government will need to honor. We must ensure that we have money saved up for the proverbial rainy days. This we must do so that we could deal with natural disasters such as flooding and tropical cyclones, which are common, with increasing intensity, as you all know, particularly at this time of the year. We must also be mindful that the aftermath of COVID-19 shutdown continues to haunt more than 60% of our population who are living below the poverty line and facing hardship. Some sectors of our economy, particularly the tourism sector, have shown reasonable recovery, whilst others are still struggling and sector performance continues to be uneven. Higher than usual inflation and increased prices for many basic consumer items have stretched family budgets. Amidst all these, our desire is for school children from the lower income homes to have the best possible start to the 2023 school year. In light of this, I take great pleasure in announcing today that your coalition government will offer back-to-school assistance of $200 per child to families whose combined income is $50,000 and below. This is due to the hardship many families are facing in the last couple of years due to COVID-19 and the contraction of our economy, whereby a lot of people have lost their jobs. Your coalition government has allocated a sum of $50 million under this program through redeployment of funds within the current budget. It is our hope that this assistance will in many ways ease the way back to financial stability for families who are still recovering from the dire economic events of 2020 and 2021. Support for education, as you may be aware, is at the core of the coalition government commitment to the people of Fiji. The Minister for Finance and Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Professor Biman Prasad, will provide more details on this program. Binawalevu, thank you very much.
The Honorable Prime Minister, the Honorable Minister for Education, and my peers for Finance, Shri Gaundar, members of the media. Mr. Mbolavina, and good afternoon to all of you. As you know, we are in the third week of government, The Honorable Prime Minister, myself, and other cabinet ministers have been taking stock of where things are in our respective ministries and portfolios. In this very early phase, we have recognized that families are going through tough times due to the economic challenges that prevailed during and in the aftermath of COVID 19, which has been intensified by the global inflationary challenges emanating beyond our borders as well. Notably, global fuel and food prices have increased, transportation and freight costs have skyrocketed, and unfortunately, risks still remain on the upside. We are, of course, hopeful that once we have achieved full economic recovery in 2023, these type of support may not be necessary, or if it is necessary, will be for a small number of students and families. And as a government, stated by the Honorable Prime Minister, we are here to help. And therefore, to help ease the financial burden on Fijian families, as stated by the Prime Minister as they are preparing for the upcoming school year, the Honorable Prime Minister has just announced that the coalition government will provide a back to school support of $200 per child to help purchase things like school bags, shoes, stationery, books, lunch boxes, and other supplies for the children. It's not just tuition fees, it's also these things that parents and the children need. The back to school support is for early childhood education students, primary and secondary up to year 13 for the school year 2023. Support, therefore, will be provided per student basis for families, as stated by the Honorable Prime Minister, which have a combined annual income of 50,000 or less. So, to access this support, parents are required to simply fill a manual application form which will be available at respective schools from tomorrow, Wednesday, 11th January. And we wish to advise that a separate application form must be filled for each student. For example, a family with 3 students will have to fill 3 application forms. The completed application forms then need to be submitted to the schools for verification and updating on premise. Our Ministry of Finance is working very closely with the Ministry of Education, and we've had discussions with the Honorable Minister for Education. And a circular will be issued to all schools tomorrow on the roles and responsibilities of teachers. We therefore call upon all teachers and school management. We're asking them to assist us in the effective rollout of this very important initiative. All families earning below 50,000 annually and whose children do not currently receive transportation assistance will have to apply by filling in the full back to school support application form with a statutory declaration for income verification purposes, which has been verified and signed by the respective school. For families with children who currently receive subsidized transportation assistance, they do not have to complete the full form, especially the income verification section of the application form, as they are already verified to be earning less than $50,000. I would therefore like to emphasize that the teachers, heads of schools, and management to ensure that the parents' name and phone number in the manual application form is correct and matches the parents' details on families. I'm also requesting parents to be vigilant while filling the application form and provide correct and up-to-date information, including the phone numbers. This is to ensure that there is no abuse of the initiative. Like the unemployment assistance and the inflation mitigation payments provided by the previous government, the back to school support will be disbursed through the Vodafone M-Pesa and digital MyCash platforms. And for students in maritime islands with no mobile coverage, families will have to provide the address of their nearest post office or agency to receive support through TMO. We would like to start this initiative first with parents applying for the assistance, and once all the parents have made the application, we will later open this for guardians. And this is to simply to avoid complications where both parents and guardians applying for the same child. The application for back to school support will open, as I said before, on Wednesday, 11th January, and will close on Friday, 20th January. The Ministry of Finance will start making the payments from Wednesday, 25th January, 2023, so that parents have ample time before they send the children to the school for the 2023 school year. Given the time of the year, the recent appointment of our coalition government, and we understand the pressures on parents, we have decided that we will follow the existing system or process of disbursing financial help for all those who need it, even though we believe that this process can be improved, and we will pursue reforms as soon as possible, as stated by the Prime Minister as part of our overall review of government finances. But, ladies and gentlemen, the priority now is to ensure that our children receive the best possible start to the school year. Thank you very much.
Nanga.
From the Ministry of Education side of things, we welcome the assistance that has been rendered in the 2023 school year. And we'd like to thank the Honorable Prime Minister, the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance for making this assistance possible for those that needed it most. And we can only urge parents and guardians to access this assistance so they can be assisted in this back to school financial assistance rendered as announced today. Thank you very much.
No.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to ask this question. Prime Minister or Minister, Deputy Prime Minister or the Minister, how many students are you looking to support through this initiative? Like, what is there a number that you're looking at?
We are looking at about 220 students or thereabout. It could be more than 220, it could be less than 220,000.
Okay, and just a follow up on the Fiji First came up this morning with a press conference, and there is some concerns about the school terms. They're saying that going back to 3-term format for schools is a regressive step. Minister, do you have any comments on that?
Thank you very much. I think there's been a lot of concern raised through the media, and what we'd like to confirm to the general public that we are going back to the 3 terms, And that is the stand that the coalition government is taking.
And let me just add to that. I think some members of the previous government, and especially the former Minister for Education, should realize that many of the reforms that happened under their government was haphazard, not thought very carefully, and we have had no evaluation and review in the last 8 years or beyond that to be able to see the impact of those reforms. So they should relax and expect the coalition government to make some changes where we feel it is necessary.
My question is directed at the Minister of Education. I note the dates that you've given, Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, on the submitting of the forms. Will you need teachers to come back earlier? Will you need extra people in order to process this initiative very quickly in time to roll it out?
The date that has been given is 25th January, and I think the school has been managed by the heads of school. Some teachers have been out on leave, and hopefully they will be back by the time this program will be released out.
And if they have to come even before the school opens, because many of the schools will still have the support staff, the management is there, and the head teachers, I'm sure, would be very happy to come around and ensure that the application process is completed. So we don't see any problem there.
Honorable Minister for Education, with regards to the 3 school terms, and I note your earlier response that this is the stance of the coalition government, given that parents and teachers and students, some of them, have gotten used to the 4 terms, will you consider a proper public consultation further down the road?
I think rightly said, Deputy Prime Minister, the 4th term was run only for 1 year. It started during the COVID. So before that, it was usually a 3-term basis. And I think after the announcement, majority of the parents, guardians, and teachers, and even students, they appreciated the fact that it's gone back to 3 terms.
Education Minister, your predecessor labeled going back to 3 terms as regressive and taking Fiji backwards. So I just wanted some comment from yourself about what she said this morning.
Thank you. I just wanted to respond that majority of the stakeholders in the industry really appreciated the 3 school term. So that is what I can respond to right now.
And that's coming from people who, for 8 years, instituted many reforms within the education system without any consultation. And Felix, you know that we've been calling for an education commission. We've been calling for a review of the reforms, but nothing was done. So they're the last people who should come around and tell us that we have not consulted anyone on this. It was a response during COVID, and the Honorable Minister for Education has rightly said that there are parents and families, they understand that that's been a good decision. And of course, as the Prime Minister has said before, we are going to look at all those reforms through a proper process, and the Honorable Minister for Education has already articulated that in his address when he was meeting the staff of his ministry.
Sorry, just one more question to you. We put to her that the coalition government is really looking at the contracts for teachers. And one question that we had asked was, under the previous administration, with a 3-year contract, it will be difficult for teachers to get loans for homes, etc. But her response was that teachers were never disadvantaged. So have you got any comments on that?
I think that's part of our manifesto, and something that we will have to look into in terms of contracting of staff or working as a career civil servant. So that is something that we will have to probably make a cabinet decision on in terms of phasing out of contracts.
And the effect of that, which we had highlighted. Many members of the education staff or school staff and those on contract couldn't secure loans because they could not prove to their lending institutions that they had a secure source of income for the time of the loan. I do not know where she is coming from. I have heard from both the Fijian Teachers Association and the Fiji Teachers Union.
Mr. Prime Minister, I actually asked her that question, and she said she was able to secure a home loan on a 3-year contract, so everyone else should be able to do so as well.
Doing what?
She did not specify.
I thought she
How
was
much?
I thought she was on a 4-year contract.
How much was the loan? You're talking about housing loan and things like that.
So, the Prime Minister, sir, you mentioned how the government is still assessing where we stand economically. Just in terms of how we're going to fund this assistance, are we going to cut back on certain government ministry budgets?
I've received assurance from the Minister of Education that we will not have any setbacks. He has looked at the whole distribution of funds in the funds allocated for the remaining part of this budget, and he's assured me that it's okay. And his job hangs on that assurance.
I think the Honourable Prime Minister is right. If I can just add to what the Honourable Prime Minister said, you know that we have, Prime Minister himself in Parliament, when he was there as the leader of the opposition, and myself, we've talked about wastages of the previous government. This initiative and other initiatives will come from, as Prime Minister rightly said, from deployment of funds from within the existing budget. And we have identified areas which were not, in our view, and we know that, the people know that, were not priority expenditures. And so we understand, we have a crippling debt situation that we have to manage, but we also have to look at how to balance our expenditure, in terms of what's priority and what is not. Yes, we have a very, very clear view of where we are, and in the days to come, and once we have discussed this within Cabinet, I'm sure the Prime Minister would be articulating some of these things further. But we have to understand, and the Prime Minister rightfully said in his address, that we have to manage our finances very, very carefully. We have to balance it with the needs of our people. We have to balance it with the right policies, right balance, so that our economy can be on the right trajectory. We can provide a business environment that is conducive to building confidence, to attracting private sector investment, and that would be our overall strategy. And I can tell you the amount of confidence that we can see already from the discussions that we've had with various institutions, private sector, and as we move ahead, we will be having more dialogue, more consultation, and the Honourable Prime Minister, of course, would be leading those consultations and dialogue. We have already articulated foreshadowed at economic summit, which will bring the country together which will bring investors together, which will bring stakeholders together. So we have a real task on our hands, but we are confident under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister that we would be dealing with this very, very carefully.
Follow up. University students are also scheduled to begin classes soon. Do we have an update with regards to those who are on TSLS?
There will all be good news when the Honorable Prime Minister, again with the Honorable Minister for Education, will be announcing the changes that will be made. And all I can assure on behalf of the Prime Minister is that students and parents have no cause for concern. The Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Finance, in direct consultation with the Honorable Prime Minister, we are on track to ensure that there will be no hiccups, there will be no problems with all our tertiary students. So just hang on, and you'll hear the good news soon.
One last question. When can parents acquire these forms? Where can parents acquire the forms? Will they have to?
The forms are available in all the schools. I'm told by my peers that it'll also be available online. And so there will be no difficulty at all in getting the form in which they need to apply. It'll be easily available.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was the last question. Please, thank you.